Father, we just thank you again for this day. We thank you for your many blessings that you bestow upon each and every one of us. We want to pause now and just thank you for the men and women that are in the military, not only locally, but around the world, that make sacrifices every day so that we can retain our freedom to come together, even as a Rotary group. We also want to think of the families that have lost loved ones over the years, that you just give them a special blessing this week as well. Pray just bless this food to our bodies now and the fellowship we have here in Rotary. We pray in these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it true? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? One other thing, we're going to sing, help me out, Dorsey. My Country 'Tis of Thee. Thank you. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing, and where my fathers died, and the pilgrims cried, from every mountain side, let freedom ring.
Thank you, Ron. And now for our introduction of guests and visiting Rotarians, Cody Cheek.
All right, good afternoon. We have Michael Huff. Michael? He stepped out. Okay. We'll come back to him. Marshall Lee. I know I saw Marshall. Here she is.
It's my pleasure to introduce Diane Smith. She is recently relocated from Montgomery, Alabama. She and her husband have family in the area. She is a nurse practitioner, and we welcome her to our team.
Mike is right behind you.
Thank you. I have two guests today. I've got Kristen and Al Breland. Both of them are former members.
That's so sad.
I want to say, I'll be your guest. Jessica Kirby.
Good afternoon. I have with me Will Daniel from the Mahoney Group, who's a commercial realtor.
And we have a visiting Rotarian from the Winter Haven Club, Rick Mariucci.
Hey, Rick.
And then we also have an out-of-town Rotarian from Atlanta, Buckhead. And I'm going to butcher the last name. It's Hal Harvestme.
Right here. There he is. Hi, Hal. All right, thank you, Cody. Anybody online, Amanda? Doug McCall, welcome. Okay, and now Happy Dollars with Scott Katz.
Okay, who's happy? Well, let's go with Mark first. Thank you, Scott. So we had the gala, and the club was great. We had a lot of people there, and I'd like to thank the people who were sponsoring. The new members, Bryce Philpott sponsored one, Irma Cole, and Kathy Abel sponsored a new member so they could go. We have program sponsors, and they are Joelle Ruthven, I got a copy for you, Joel Ivy, and Ron Denny. Thank you all, and you ready? Next year we'll make it bigger and better. Thank you. Happy, happy, happy.
I'm particularly happy today for two reasons. One is it's great to be back at Lakeland. The day we just got back from Asheville this week, and it was 29 degrees up there the day after we left. So it's great to be here. The other reason is that my bride and I just celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary in August.
We had last week 2 veterans events in which the Rotary clubs in this city were very important. Both the Veterans Breakfast on Friday morning at the Heritage Baptist Church, and of course the Veterans Ceremony the following day. So I'd like to thank this club and the other 3 clubs in Lakeland. And I also want to give a special shout out to Michael Huff. This club, Michael has been a leading sponsor and worker both down at the park and for the breakfast. So, Michael, a great job, and we appreciate what you do for veterans.
What's happening?
All right, thank you, Scott. Dorsey, it's time for your solo.
Don't want to catch anyone else singing during this. It's going to be a solo. Actually, I'm going to pay tribute to Gary Clark, Mike Huff, Don Sullivan, anyone that's had anything to do with veterans in this area. They're doing a fabulous job. And I'm a member of the American Legion, Phil, and it's a great organization. But anyway, we switched the song we usually sing. But we're going to sing, and you can find it in your book and be worth looking at, even though you probably know it and you aren't going to sing anyway. Number 6 on page 10. This is not a spectator sport. Oh, beautiful for spacious sky, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains' majesty above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed His grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorsey. Okay, and just a few announcements. Tonight we have a board meeting at Lakeland Electric at 5:15. If no one has anything better to do, come on down and join us. We'd love to have you. Mark your calendars, December 2nd. You got the email yesterday, but the Christmas parade is back at Hugh Turbeville's place. So please check your email and RSVP for that as soon as possible. It fills up quick. Quick note on parking. If you have not been before, you may want to consider parking here at the church or down at Heath Funeral Home or somewhere else. If you park at the Garden Club, which you're more than welcome to do, just know that you are there for the duration of the parade. What else? Oh, next Tuesday, November 16th, we have a social at Yard on Mass, and that will be at 5:30. And then Stephanie's scheduling a few more events in January. We're trying to put something together with Ryan McClellan at International Diamond Center for a gym class, which I talked to him last night. It's going to be pretty interesting, so you'll want to sign up for that. And bell ringing is back online, so check the website and sign up for bell ringing. As you know, our club covers most of those dates, so we need people to sign up early and often. Okay, and now for our program. Mr. Gary Clark, if you'll come on up.
Thank you, President Nate. I'd just like to echo Don's comments about the support from this club and the other Rotary clubs for what we do is to recognize veterans and the support thereof. If any of you had a chance to participate or at least witness, be a spectator of the event we had on Saturday of unveiling the monument, there was a gentleman there, World War II veteran, 102 years old. And we think we're going to be able to get him on the next flight. He wants to go to Washington, hasn't been. And it's an incredible guy. He doesn't need a wheelchair. He doesn't need a walker. He doesn't need a cane. I need all those. So anyway, last meeting, I think I mentioned Mike Loudon claimed that he knew the second verse of Home on the Range. We tested him. He really doesn't. He's from Nebraska, but I do. And growing up in Kansas, in the small communities that I grew up in, the county had less than 2,500 people total in the entire county. But most of the folks who were my dad's age were all World War II veterans. And when Veterans Day came around, the one thing you could count on was the Legion. And everybody knew it was the Legion, not the American Legion, the Legion. We just assumed it was the American Legion. That's what was on the building and on the letterhead. But everybody knew what the American Legion was, and all the World War II veterans belonged. And the Legion would sponsor parade, parties, barbecues, cookouts, all that sort of thing. The Legion was the center in those small towns. Now, I grew up in a town that had 168 people in it. Okay, those were small towns, and but the Legion was the centerpiece, the social hub of what went on, not just on Veterans Day, but around the rest of the year. So it's with great pleasure that we have the opportunity to hear more about the Legion, its history, its impact on our country, from someone who knows better than anybody else, and that's my friend Phil Mowry. Phil was born and raised in Pennsylvania, attended college and law school in the Midwest, and entered active duty in the United States Air Force. A Gulf War veteran, Phil was assigned to the 401st Tactical Fighter Wing during Desert Storm. The wing's F-16s were among the first wave of American air assets launched into Iraq at the start of the war. A postscript here, two of the guys from his unit were shot down. I had the pleasure, this is how small the world is, I had the pleasure of bringing those guys back out of Iraq after Desert Storm was complete. They were two of the POWs that we had. Phil served 10 years on active duty, receiving a regular Air Force commission and attaining the rank of major. After his military service, Phil held a variety of senior executive positions in the corporate, nonprofit, and academic areas. While working in the economic development and technology incubation space in Ohio, Phil was recognized by the governor and awarded an appointment to the Executive Order of the Ohio Commodore, considered the state's highest honor. Currently, he is Senior Vice President, Chief Legal Officer, and Board Secretary for a national healthcare company based in Tampa. Phil has been a member of the American Legion for 29 years, originally joining while on active duty in Minot, North Dakota. He has been a Legion commander at the local, regional level 7 times, and also been the state of Florida's American Legion Judge Advocate. While serving as a post 235 commander in Matthews, North Carolina in 2019, Phil was named Matthews Veterans of the Year and was awarded the Mayor's Medal for Community Service. He currently serves as commander of American Legion Post 4 here in Lakeland. Phil and his wife Elise lived in Lakeland from 2010-2016, moved with his company to Charlotte, North Carolina, and then Austin, Texas. They moved back to Lakeland in April this year with the intent of putting down roots for good, and we hope that's the case. Phil, it's my honor to welcome Phil Mowry to the podium.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for the invitation, particularly during this important Veterans Day week. Veterans Day generally is more of a celebration. Memorial Day is more of a somber event, recognizing those who've given their all. And I was looking forward to a purely positive, emotional day today, and then Gary stood up. So the intertwine between him and I, the more I know about him, his mentor was a major general fighter pilot that died in a crash months before I got to my first unit before the war, in the same unit. And the wife of the guy you brought home was in my house, pregnant, when he was shot down. And so we spent, my wife and I, countless hours with her, consoling her, telling her to trust that we would get her husband back, and we did. So amazing. The intersections here is just amazing. So, by the way. Yeah. So let me get a hold of myself here. It's just, anyways. So thank you for allowing me to be here today. As I said, Veterans Day is more of a positive experience, but it's not just about veterans supporting each other. It's not about even thanking those that are currently in active duty, but it's also about tomorrow's veterans. You've probably heard this, but I think it's important to hear again. General Washington said, "The willingness with which our young people are likely to serve in any war, no matter how just, will be directly proportional to how they perceive the veterans of earlier wars being treated and appreciated by their nation." That's why Veterans Day is so important. It's important to show tomorrow's warriors that they too will be appreciated and taken care of no matter what condition they're in when they come home. So it's about celebrating old guys. It's about thanking the current warriors. And it's about modeling for tomorrow's warriors that this is a country worth fighting for. So that's Veterans Day. I'm here to talk about one of the passions of my life, and that's the American Legion. I love the American Legion, and I want to just say a quick shout out to Chief Warrant Officer Robinson, member of the Lakeland Post 4, of course, Colonel Clark, member of Post 4, Colonel Selvage, member of Post 4, and apparently Captain Dorsey Hightower is a member of the Legion somewhere, and if you're not a member of the Post here at 4, I'm going to transfer you in. So, and to anyone else out there that's a member of the American Legion, you know how great it is. But what is the American Legion? Gary talked a little bit about what it meant generations ago. And I'm sad to say that when I ask people about the American Legion, I get a couple of different responses. Younger people, unfortunately, say, "I don't know anything about the American Legion. What is the American Legion?" That's sad. Older folks sometimes say, "It's a smoke-filled bar where old men sit on bar stools, smoke cigarettes, drink beer, and are antisocial." There's a lot of truth in stereotypes, this one in particular. And that's a subject for another discussion, but it has its roots in how the Vietnam veterans were treated, what kind of war they were involved in, and what they felt like when they came home and were disrespected. I have to say, as a Persian Gulf veteran, the country more than made up for it in my mind by how they treated me and my peers when we came back stateside. But that's an issue that we're trying to address, the image of the Legion. But the Legion fundamentally is the largest veterans organization in America. It's the largest veterans organization in the world. Currently, we have about 2 million members. All-time high after World War II is over 5 million members. But we are the largest, and therefore we are called upon by the President and Congress to testify on veterans issues because of our constituency. So it's important for you veterans out there to join the Legion so that we can keep these numbers up so that we can continue to advise our leaders on military issues as the number of veterans decline among our civilian leadership. All right, so one of the ways I like to talk about the Legion is just to read the preamble to the Constitution of the American Legion, which was written 102 years ago. Legion has been around for 102 years. It's been in Lakeland for 102 years. We're Post 4, which is one of the original posts in Florida. We were chartered in 1919, got our official charter in, I think, 1924. But we've been here for 102 years. And this preamble has not changed in 102 years. This is what the American Legion is. For God and country, we associate ourselves together for the following purposes: to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States, to maintain law and order, to foster and perpetuate a 100% Americanism, to preserve the memories and incidents of our associations in all wars, to inculcate a sense of individual obligation to the community, state, and nation, to combat the autocracy of both the classes and the masses, to make right the master of might, to promote peace and goodwill on earth, to safeguard and transmit to posterity the principles of justice, freedom, and democracy, and to consecrate and sanctify our comradeship by our devotion to mutual helpfulness. Now that's a lot of words, right? These are aspirational goals, kind of like the Constitution of the United States. So we boil this down in the Legion to what we call the 4 pillars of the American Legion. And these are more understandable. The Legion is about fundamentally 4 things: Veterans Affairs and Rehabilitation. This is what we're known for. National security. We have a huge team of advocates in Washington that talk to Congress all the time about veterans issues, national security. Children and youth. Maybe some of you participated in American Legion baseball back in the day. And the 4th one is Americanism. And I'd like to talk a little bit about those 4 pillars of the American Legion a little bit here for the rest of my time. So veterans rehab and veterans affairs, pretty obvious. When the Legion was formed and before the troops came back from the war in 1919 in Paris, France, they got together and they started talking about the challenges that they were going to face when they got stateside. One of those was the rehabilitation and the care for their wounded comrades. There was no VA. There was none of that. There was no service for service-connected disabilities for veterans. So they would come home and they were on their own. And it was even more shameful at that time is that finally when some of these people came home in a coffin, they would stack up in New Jersey and New York and at the ports and nobody would come pick them up. People were tired of the war. Times were getting tough. And, so the veterans were kind of on their own. And these guys knew that in Paris before they came home, demobilized. The other thing they said was, we're never going to be with people we care more about than the people that protected us in the trenches. And we're not going to have a mission more virtuous for the rest of our lives than fighting for our country overseas. So they said, how do we keep a little bit of that? And so they formed the American Legion. So the American Legion is about service, it's about fellowship, and it's about taking care of those that have borne the battle and their children and the orphans. So veterans rehab and rehabilitation is, again, pretty straightforward. It's understandable. A couple of highlights of the American Legion over the years. Because there was no VA, I think in 1925, the Legion created and got the legislation passed for the Department of the Veterans Bureau, I think it was called, which is a predecessor to the VA. The VA exists today because of the American Legion. Now we can talk about the VA and all that, but and the American Legion was instrumental in making the head of the VA a cabinet level position recently. So the American Legion got veterans the care that they deserved by creating the VA. 1940s, the veterans were worried about coming home after 4 years of war, out of cycle at work. How many promotions have I missed? I'm 4 years older. I'm not educated. How am I ever going to integrate in the economy again? So in a hotel in Washington, D.C., one of the leaders of the Legion hands wrote the GI Bill of Rights, and the American Legion got that passed so that these 20 million people that were in uniform for our country had an opportunity to catch up and get the schooling that they needed. And it was the biggest influx of not only can-do people, but then newly educated people into the workforce, and the country is significantly better for it. Today, it pays for not just undergraduate, but graduate school at low interest or no down payment loans for veterans so they can get a home once they come out of the service, because generally they have no money and they have not accumulated any money. And a lot of the compensation in the military is in-kind compensation, housing and clothes, where you can't convert that into down payment. So these are some of the accomplishments of the American Legion in the veterans rehab and rehabilitation space. National security, again, I say we have lobbyists in Washington. Soldiers are uniquely aware of the historic issues in peacetime relative to the military. Over and over and over again, the nation demobilizes and underfunds the military, and when the next war comes, and there's always a next war, the people die in numbers that was unnecessary because they're not trained and not equipped properly. And then we mobilize and get everybody ready to go, and we have an incredible fighting force, and then we just whittle it away. And so we have advocates there desperately saying, look, we got to be forward thinking in this. We have to make sure we have a military that's capable so that we can not only achieve the mission, but bring as many people home as possible. So that's the national security mission of the nation. World War I was no exception. People went over there, were hardly trained, some of them. And so that was a big problem in World War I. Children and youth. I mentioned American Legion Baseball. Well, one of the largest growing section of the veterans community are women, female veterans. And so the American Legion has created a fast pitch softball program that's one of the fastest growing programs in the American Legion for girls. It was a big responsibility they felt to take care of the family of their comrades that didn't come home. So they wanted to make sure that not only did they have recreational opportunities and were able to pay for sports equipment and so on and so forth, but that they had mentors. They had adults around, not just to help economically with the family, but to show, to model that what the father generally would have done, but wasn't there anymore. So in addition to sports and mentorship, American Legion has patriotic programs like the oratorical competition. Every year in all the states, we have oratorical competitions that start at the post level and work their way up, where kids debate each other essentially on patriotic issues. That's an American Legion program. One of the premier programs for children and youth is Boys State. Now, we also have Girls State, which is traditionally funded by the American Legion Auxiliary, but this is where kids in high school compete to have a scholarship opportunity to go to their state capital for a week and learn, basically live civics. They get divided into two parties. They elect each other to various positions all the way up to governor, Supreme Court, and the state Senate. They pass laws. Then the outstanding graduate of Boys State moves on to Boys Nation. And we've had several presidents, Bill Clinton included, that were Boys Nation representatives from their state, and they would say that they were inspired to public service because of the American Legion Boys State program. So these are just, we have shooting sports programs for kids. We support JROTC in the high schools and the junior high schools. So we are very active with children and youth. And working with them in all regards. They are the future, they're the future leaders of our country, and the Legion feels very strongly about that. The last of the four pillars is Americanism. Now, what in the heck is that? Americanism boils down to fundamentally patriotism and good citizenship. You read some of the stuff in the preamble of the Constitution about, democracy and freedom and so on and so forth. That's Americanism. And the American Legion takes that very seriously. In all of this, we have programs in the schools to talk about flags, talk about how democracy works, these kind of structural things. But the Legion is also active in their communities in different ways. And I just want to talk a little bit about what we're doing here with the Americanism piece. I want to say that the American Legion, I'm very proud of, 102 years ago, the issue of whether Black troops could be members of the Legion was so disgraceful to the Legionnaires of that time that they refused to even take that resolution forward for a vote. They refused to vote on that because they felt like we serve together, we bleed together, we're going to be in a Legion together. Now, just like the American Constitution and America over the years, things haven't been perfect. The more I've been around, the more I realize that the Legion hasn't always done a great job with African American members and membership and so on and so forth. But our bones are good. We're working hard to keep getting better. And so in the current times, our post has decided to become active in this area. We're sick to death of the vitriolic, anti-American, tearing each other apart that's going on in our culture today. The Legion Constitution prohibits us from getting involved in partisan politics. So I'm the commander of the local post, and therefore I cannot involve myself in partisan politics. But what's going on is a lot more than partisan politics. It affects our children, our youth, our national defense. It affects everything that the Legion stands for and has stood for 102 years. And we're despondent over what we see going on out there, ripping the country apart. We learned in the military and basic training that there was no black and no white. In the Air Force, everybody was blue. In the Marines, everybody was green. That's the way it was. We learned from each other. We made each other better. We were ignorant of a lot of things about different people. We learned different friends, but there was one mission and one flag and one unit, and we worked together, we bled together, we died together without reference to color. And so we believe that we can try to make a difference with our experience. And so American Legion Post 4 has committed itself this year to diversifying the post. I'm proud to say that we have a quarter of our executive board now that are black veterans, which was not the case in our history. We are actively recruiting minority members. You put your money where your mouth is, right? You say we want you, but we gotta be open and welcoming. And you walk into a bar in the middle of nowhere, and somebody looks at you like, "What are you doing here?" I mean, our women veterans have that experience all the time. Well, we got to change that. That's the culture change. But we're also committed to finding ways in our local community here, in small ways and in large ways, to model American unity and American citizenship the way it should be. We're different, but we work together for a common cause. America's a great place, and it's worth saving, and it's worth working together. And the children need to see unity, and they need to see us working together for this common mission and not just screaming at each other. So we feel very strongly about that in the Post and in the Legion. And so for us, that's what our Americanism objective is for this year. And so we're finding ways to do that. We're working through the Boy Scouts to try to find minority troops that could use some help, that are historically under provisioned. In all ways, we're looking for ways to make a difference because it's the right thing to do. And so that's how we view Americanism. So let us know in your job, in your neighborhood, in your community organizations. We're partnering with the NAACP. We're partnering with black churches. We're partnering with anybody that has an opportunity for us to show the way. And veterans, in so many ways, still serve and still want to show the way. So if you have opportunities in your area that might fit into this in some broad way or some direct way, let us know, because American Legion wants to get involved and help and be part of the solution, and we don't want to be part of the problem. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions. Otherwise, Gary's got, yeah.
Bill, can you speak to the living Post 4 here at Lakeland? Post 4 in this club are the same. Talk about former post that was on Lake, our house garden. Talk a little bit about what the Legion has done here in Lakeland for the last.
Sure. The Lakeland, the question was, talk a little bit about the history of Lakeland, of the Legion in Lakeland. As I said earlier, the Legion in Lakeland is 102 years old, with basically the age of the American Legion itself. Immediately after the Legion formed, a post was formed here. The city provided the newly formed American Legion Post 4 lease for $1 for 99 years, essentially, for a building to be put on Lake, which one is that? Lake Mirrors. I'm still new again, and I'm remembering all the different lakes. And so they built a beautiful, magnificent, white stone building out there that housed quarters. People could hotel there, not a lot of them, had restaurants and dances and did all the things that a lively and productive American Legion Post would do. Was active in the community, was a place for people to go for all the reasons that we exist. And then into the 80s, the decision was made to create Hollis Gardens, and they needed their spot back. And so they offered us property where we currently are, which is on Ariana. If you might know the intersection where Lakeland Christian is, there's I think a Harvey's or something supermarket complex just up the road at the light. But we are essentially there. We're just a little further down Ariana than the McDonald's that sits there. And we have a relatively nice piece of property that still has opportunity to develop. Like at the earlier location, we are a community center where people can come and use the facilities, rent it out for the wedding receptions and whatnot, or for events or so on and so forth. We have a new addition that we just paid off this past year. COVID was very, very hard for us, but the prior commander, by hook or by crook, was able to keep the place alive. And there were people in the community that remembered the Legion and what they did for their veteran or what they did for somebody in their family. And there were donations from the community, some of them anonymous, that really helped pull us through. And that is really encouraging to us, that even though we got to work on this image of the Legion, there are people that remember what we did for them and what it was all about. So they helped us survive. And now snowbirds are coming back. We have the best fish fry, which is open to the public on Friday at 4 o'clock. Legion's known for food, among other things. Our restaurant manager's from Philadelphia, so a lot of it's heavy cheesesteaks and hoagies, pizzas, whatever, but she's phenomenal. And fish fry is incredible and starts at 4 o'clock every Friday. So that's a little bit about what we do here. Wonderful, wonderful. That's great.
The League of United Latin American Citizens. It's sort of like the NAACP with Hispanics people, and
I am not.
It goes all the way back, almost as old as the Legion. I can give you some information. We have a local chapter right here, and obviously there are a lot of Hispanic veterans that need to be brought in as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
LULAC, it's called.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, this is the effort of the Legion. We want to not just unite the community, but unite us as veterans, and we have some work to do there. Interestingly, from a historical perspective, there was a United Veterans of the Spanish-American War post here, and the marker for that post is on our property. And I was a member of the post the whole time I was here from 2010 to 2016, didn't know it, never saw it. But there's a little piece of veterans history from another war that exists right there on our piece of property. So if there's any members of the Spanish-American War out here, or any veterans, come by and see us. There you go. All right, well, thank you so much. There's so, yes, ma'am.
You had me at hoping.
Yes, yes. So this is where we are. We are an open to the public post. American Legion Post a while ago sort of divided their lounge from the post for all kinds of legal reasons and whatever. So there are two sides to most American Legion posts. They have a canteen and they have the post proper. Most posts are closed posts. Their liquor license is only for veterans and guests, and there's a process for coming in, but the general public cannot come in. We were one of the original posts that got to slide in before the local bars say, hey, wait a minute, we don't need that competition. Don't let the public in there. Remember, we're post 4. We're one of the original posts in Florida. We have a liquor license that continues to allow us to serve the public at large because we're never going to get rid of that thing. Why would we? So that's a big revenue driver for us. So pretty much everything but closed meetings of the post proper is open to the public. Now, because we suffered so much during the COVID, we were literally shut down. We are trying to build back the operations of the post Thank you.
I've got to run, sorry.
Yep. We're trying to build back the operations of the post incrementally, right? We get the leadership up. We finally filled all our officer positions, and on and the snowbirds are coming back, so on and so forth. So the amount of activities that we would normally do, to include participating in the Veterans Day Parade in a big way, is something we're working toward. But just know that we have a Facebook that can be accessed through our website page until we get our website up and running again. It has a monthly calendar. American Legion Post 4, Lakeland Post 4, any of that takes you to our website. Have the monthly calendar on there. It'll have the activities that we're doing and the food that Donna's making. And we encourage you to come in and support us. And again, fish rice to die for. All right, so thank you very much. It's been an honor. I could sit here and talk about the Legion forever. I love it. I love its mission. Hopefully we're making a difference here in the community, and thank you for having me.
Appreciate those comments. And the gentleman, the mentor of mine, he was talking about that was killed in an F-16 crash in Spain. Was a guy named Scott Hart, Major General Scott Hart. I don't say this too loudly, but he graduated from Florida State. And so he was a fine gentleman, 2 Vietnam tours, etc. But he commanded 16th Air Force. Speaking of veterans, a number of years ago, I can't tell you how many, probably close to 20 or so, it was decided that we were going to have a Veterans Day program, and we've done one ever since. And Willie Wilson, many of you remember Willie Wilson. Willie said, what we need is a roll call. And so in honor of Willie and Foster Heath and Henry McIntosh and all those World War II veterans that we stood on the shoulders of and really built this club, we're going to do a roll call. And when your name is called, would you please stand and remain standing? And those of you that are doing this virtually, stand also. Okay, we'll pretend like we see you. Okay. Dick Mason, Navy. Brock Self, Navy and Air Force. Ralph Allen, Marine Corps. Joe McDonough, Army. Bill Chase, Army. Dean Hart, Navy. Gary Clark, Air Force. Greg Robinson, Navy. Rico Rich, Army. Dorsey Hightower, Air Force. Don Selvage, Marine Corps. Bob Eckenruth, Air Force. Joel Ruthven, Navy. Vince Jones, Army. Ron Denny, Air Force. Michael Huff, Army. Jenny Harris, Air Force. Chuck McDaniel, Marine Corps. Scott Franklin, Navy. Dan Hill, Army. Mark Davies, Army. Scott Laurent, Army. Keith DeLoach, Army. Chuck Urban, Army. Cal Arter, Army. James Ring, Army. Phil Mowry, Air Force. If I missed anybody, it's your fault. Okay? Give me your name. But is there anybody I missed? Is there anybody here that's the veteran that didn't call?
Yeah, there's a couple.
Okay. There you go. Thank you very much. Make sure I get your name, okay? I thought we had it, but
I got an application form.
yeah, and you got an application too. So these are the guys you want to get, Phil. Okay. Okay, I think we also have some brats in the crowd. If you're a military brat, would you stand up, please? Okay, we got a couple. I know we got, there you go. We got military brats. Good, great to have you. And we appreciate all your service, and we appreciate everything that you do. And thanks for helping make Veterans Day week a real event here. And with Phil's help, we're going to make it even bigger in the years ahead. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Gary and Don and all of you and Mike. You guys do so much for the veterans in this community, and We so appreciate it, so thank you. I'd like to thank our guests and visiting Rotarians, Kristen, Kyle, Diane, and Will, and visiting Rotarians, Rick Mariucci and Hal. Thank you guys for coming, and please come back. Okay, the moment you've all been waiting for, today's joke. Why do melons get married? Because they can't elope. With that, we are dismissed.